And Jordan McCutcheon there on the right here, he is playing green-red monsters. He is just beating down a lot of mana acceleration for Elvish Mystic, for Rattleclaw Mystic, 2 Sylvan Caryatid, Rabblemaster, Courser, 4 copies of Ash Cloud Phoenix, 4 copies of Stormbreath Dragon, 2 Hornet Queens, and 4 copies of Genesis Hydra, alongside 4 Crater's Claws. So this is reminiscent to me of Fires of Yavimaya strategies from 13, 14 years ago. Just
so
red,
old.
green, just play a mana accelerant on turn 1 or turn 2, and then all the good 4s and 5s. With Crater's Claws replacing Gitu Fire.
Ah, yes. Keys
there
to
you
Fire.
go.
Now you're dating yourself. Very nice. That was a powerful card, though. It looks like it's time for some mana acceleration. It's an Elvish Mystic to start things off here for McCutcheon. Round number 2 here in Worcester underway. You can see Boettcher in his hand. He's going to play a Temple of Malady. He also has a copy of Mana Confluence over there. Stormbreath Dragon, Fanatic Xenagos hiding out in the grip. So we'll see what Jared's able to put together here, number 8 on our Open Series leaderboard. Top card's going to go to the bottom as McCutcheon will untap and draw. He's ahead as far as mana is concerned. That's kind of how you push your advantage in these kind of green mirror matches.
And he's got a lot of awesome stuff to do with once he gets to his top end.
Courser Crewfix will reveal a Wooded Foothills. Before passing the turn back over to Boettcher. Boettcher will draw a card. It's a copy of Air of the Wilds. And Boettcher looks like he may deploy the 2/2, and he will. Of course, it does have Death Touch and gets a little bit stronger when it does have Ferocious, as McCutcheon will draw the Wooded Foothills. Take a look at it, copy of Crater's Claw on top of the deck.
And Jordan's mana a little bit stretched, even though it's a 2-color deck, 7/4, 6 mountains, 6 fetch lands, 4 Wooded Foothills, and then 1 green and 1 red, and then 4 copies of Temple of Abandon. So even though he's 2 colors, maybe not the most stable mana.
Wooded Foothills is going to come in and gain McCutcheon a life. He's up to 21. See if he wants to sacrifice this now or not, depending on what his turn does allow him to do.
Sort of a troubled element of Jordan's deck is he really wants green mana on turn 1 for his mana accelerants, and then he's ramping into double red spells like Ash Cloud Phoenix and Stormbreath Dragon. So it will be a challenge for him to cast the spells on time every time, but there is a lot of power here.
Sacrifice the Wooded Foothills, he will lose 1 and then gain 1.
It's a combo.
That is really...
It's not a combo.
Yeah, it's true.
It may not be a combo, but it's not a combo. Right.
Gotcha. Clarification is key.
Yeah.
We'll see what the top card of his deck is going to be in just a moment here from the Courser. And also how McCutcheon does want to move forward. A card again like Pelucranos, very powerful on this sort of board.
0 copies in Jordan's deck.
Wow, okay.
Which is surprising because his deck is, there's a lot of cards he's playing here that kind of say, I expect to have a lot of mana. I mean, 4 copies of Genesis Hydra, 4 copies of Crater's Claw. That's a mana deck, But yeah, no copies of Pelucranos.
Forest on top. There's some mana here, so there's a Rabblemaster. Well, we know how good that card is. So that's going to come in. I imagine we'll have a Goblin token join it in just a moment.
Not a lot of removal in Jordan's deck, just the 4 Crater's Claws and 1 copy of Lightning Strike in the main deck, so air is a pretty good defensive threat, though Jordan does have a lot of flyers.
Boettcher will draw its copy of Temple of Abandon. So he's got his red mana, even though he did have it with Mana Confluence. So color mana not an issue. He's just a little bit behind on the board at this point. He's got some catching up to do.
In the green creature mirror match, generally you want to be the one going bigger. That's usually who has the edge. Jordan is definitely the bigger deck of the 2.
Well, enough in there's decks that do have access to green and red mana. No copies of Xenagos anywhere here.
Yeah, and Jordan's lists only 1 in the sideboard.
Don't see that very often.
It's possible that it is so bad against Mantis Rider that it's going to be on the decline a little bit.
That would make some sense, because it is horrible against
It
Mantis
is so
Rider.
bad against Mantis Rider.
Boettcher just going to play Mana Confluence and just pass the turn back. You have to imagine that there's a bit of a removal spell in his hand. You can see the copy of Hero's Downfall there. So Rabblemaster is the top card after McCutcheon does draw Forest for the turn. Boettcher knows he needs to try to beat that now.
I think he may have a land in a Genesis Hydra.
That's a good turn, too.
That is not bad.
There's the land, so he's going to gain a life. We knew about that because it was on top of his deck in the Courser. Does he have the Hydra? Hydra would be for 3. That'll put the Rabblemaster to play. And then we're having a ball.
Yeah. Now we got a stew going.
McCutcheon giving the grip a long look. That's 5 mana. This feels like a Hydra. Yes. This is for 3. So number 1 is the Rabble Master. Number 2 is a Mountain. Number 3 is the Wooded Foothills. The decision is very easy. There is the Rabble Master. He'll, of course, shuffle his deck, present it to Boettcher, and then we'll see what the top card is for the Courser. Genesis Hydra, very powerful card in his green decks.
You can tell which deck's bringing a lot more power to the table. That's for sure.
It was not something that I really thought was going to be all that great, taking a look at M15. Definitely wrong about that.
I thought it had some potential in Nick those shells, and it showed up there, but I definitely would have never predicted it would show up in something like Jordan's deck,
Which is just a regular green deck.
Just a regular green deck, exactly.
Either way, it is here, and it's brought a Goblin Rabble Master along with it. Wooded Foothills is the top card. You can see in Jordan's hand, looks like he has another copy of Genesis Hydra for the next turn, so we'll see if that ends up happening. But for now,
I'm curious to see if Jordan wants to push into this Air of the Wilds. I understand the cards that Jordan has in play are much more powerful than Jared's, but at some point he has to just get this thing off the table, right?
yeah, that's how I feel kind of about it. Is I would, I don't want to trade my Corsa with it, but I'm fine doing that. Like, just get this thing off the table.
Well, you can't let it be moat. You got to attack at some point, you know?
So before the trigger with the Goblin Rabble Master, there will be a Hero's Downfall cast. Of course, Boettcher will have to take 1 to do so. And yeah, he's just going to kind of let the air play the role of moat right now.
Unless Jordan has one of his removal spells. Let's say he has his Lightning Strike in his hand, then that's fine to wait until you have your mana left over and you Lightning Strike it. But if he's just kind of trying to wait this out, I think he can't really do that.
Fnatic as any goes here. See, McCutcheon will take a look. We will do the same.
This is kind
I'd say this one a ton.
This is kind of funny because it either works with Air of the Wilds for forever or for just the one turn.
That's adorable. That's really, really nice. The old tribute mechanic. Don't see it a lot. Of course, when Fnatic Xenagos enters the battlefield, tribute wasn't paid. It gets +1/+1 and gains haste until end of turn. So, as you mentioned, forever or never.
Yeah. With McCutcheon on 22, I have to imagine you just let this.
Yeah, have it be big. Doesn't want that thing attacking. I'm just going to pass the turn back over to Boettcher.
Well, now that 4/4, Fnatic does all sorts of work on defense.
It's kind of a brick wall now.
You have a 3/3 and a 2/4 before that could attack and now cannot.
McCutcheon's top card here is Stormbreath Dragon, so he did pick up a Wooded Foothills, which gives him the 2nd red mana. So if he wants to take to the skies, he'll have to, of course, wait a turn. He will gain a life here. But that will give him the option. I imagine the skies is a place that Boettcher is a little bit weak. He's already cast one of his 2 Heroes Downfalls. He has Sarkin. He actually has 3. He has 3 Heroes Downfalls, 2 left in his deck. But he also has 4 copies of Stormbreath Dragon of his own.
It looks like Jordan's saying no thanks to that Stormbreath Dragon.
All right.
I think he may have another Genesis Hydra in his hand, which would explain it.
Yep.
Just can't really wait. It's too much value to just cast another large Genesis Hydra, so even though losing the Stormbreath is not ideal, this is probably better.
So we'll see what we can find here with the top of the deck from Courser. And then it might be Genesis Hydra time here for 4.
4 allows him to find an Ash Cloud Phoenix, which would be excellent in this spot.
That's a delight. I got a feeling we're going to see a lot more of that card.
Ash Cloud Phoenix?
Yeah.
I think so too.
Really, really good card.
For mid-range aggressive decks, I think it's an excellent threat.
There's a mountain on top of the deck. Not what McCutcheon was looking for. He's got plenty of lands. The question now is, will he cast the Hydra this turn or will he wait?
I feel like if you're willing to shuffle away, I mean, the Stormbreath Dragon feels like a pretty big prize there. If you're willing to shuffle that away, it feels like you have to be casting something this turn.
There's 4 mana.
Okay,
There's
yeah,
Yep.
that's totally fine.
Yep.
Totally fine.
And we can be the Hydra the next turn with an additional mana.
Yep, which
That
could
could-
provide Stormbreath
Yep.
all of a sudden.
To Boettcher we go. Boettcher will draw a mountain for the turn. Boettcher's still just stuck playing defense at this point. Can't get on the offense.
I mean, he has a Chandra in hand, but the Chandra can't even answer the Phoenix because Jordan has enough mana to unmorph at this point.
Yep.
He can play a Stormbreath Dragon, but a damage race at this stage probably favors Jordan.
And those are the cards that Boettcher's decided between. Stormbreath Dragon and Chandra Pyromaster.
I mean, you can't even play Storm Breath and attack because Jordan can just block and then unmorph.
Yeah, block, put my creature face down, move along. Decisions here for the Rookie of the Year. Certainly not easy ones.
Definitely not. This Phoenix is all sorts of awkward for Jared's board and hand. You can see, does he just have to say go? Like, that seems really bad. Or is it Storm Breath on defense? Also not ideal?
No, also not great, yeah. There's Storm Breath. He'll have to take one to cast it, of course, because Mana Confluence is in play. And will he be attacking, or is it just time to turtle up? It looks like it's just going to be turtling up.
Can't attack into the Phoenix here.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
It's too bad.
Mountain of the Draw, top card of the deck is a copy of Crater's Claws.
Ooh.
It's getting a little ugly.
It's a lot of damage.
It certainly is.
Although if Jordan's last card here is land plus Genesis Hydra, that's pretty awkward because you give up a Hydra for 5 to save this Crater's Claws.
Yeah. It's still okay, though. I mean, the Hydra is so good.
Oh, I'm all about the Hydra here.
I think he's all about the Hydra, too. Yep.
I like doing this pre-combat. If you find a Storm Breath, it's fine to attack with it.
Yeah, I think if he finds Storm Breath, he's just. If I'm in his spot and I find a Storm Breath here, I'm probably just saying, okay, red zone with both of my flyers. There's another Rabble Master and another copy of Crater's Claw, so he's by 2 of the fireballs now. So no Storm Breath there. Another Rabble Master isn't so bad, but it's not great either, because if he does that, then his Rabble Master that he has in play has to attack.
Yeah.
And it's not pretty if that's the case.
I mean, this forces his hand into some sort of alpha strike if he takes this, right? But he can't even really do that because Jared has the ground pretty well contained. You know, Storm Breath can then just block one of the ground pounders.
So it's time for second Rabble Master. And again, we will see what the top card is here for Courser in just a moment. Fortunate there for Boettcher, the Stormbreath Dragon did not come rolling off the top. Could have gotten really ugly.
Oh, that could have been a really bad turn. Really bad turn.
So what does Courser show to us?
The issue here also is just Jordan has so many powerful cards in his deck. I mean, not even just Storm Breath, Dragon, and Ash Cloud Phoenix. He has 2 copies of Hornet Queen at this stage, too, which he can just cast.
Which is a disaster.
Disaster.
Best card in these kind of mid-range green decks. Now, of course, one of those Rabble Masters is going to have to hang back since it did just come into play. This Rabble Master will attack, and with the trigger, it will be a 4-power creature.
I am stunned that Jordan did not attack with the Ash Cloud Phoenix.
I'm a little surprised there as well.
That feels like a freebie.
Yeah. There's just no real good blocks for Jared in that situation. Now, maybe the thought process is, I don't want to attack with it unless I have untapped mana. So that when, if he attacks with it, trades with Stormbreath Dragon, and then Boettcher has some sort of removal spell that it's going to take care of it.
Sure.
So
it is a bit of an
insurance.
It is an insurance policy. That is true. And Jordan's empty-handed, so he probably gets some shot down the line to make the same attack, but have it be safer.
There's force there for Boettcher. 4 mana. Chandra going to show up to the party. See what this is going to go after. We'll take care of the Elvish Mystic and one to McCutcheon.
Really the only thing he can profitably kill.
Now there is the Rakshasa, Death Dealer. A card that Mike Seegers loved at the Pro Tour. Said it was great.
If you want to play a 2 or 3 color aggro deck, this is one of the better incentives that's out there.
Force to draw there for McCutcheon. He's going to play that and, of course, gain a life.
Is that the buy a box Rattleclaw Mystic as the...
Look at you. Look at you. You still got it.
Still got it.
It's not super old, but you pinpointed it.
Courser Crufix plus Morphs, not the ideal combo, because, they know.
It could be anything.
Could be anything, but most likely is Rattleclaw Mystic.
You're pretty good at the Morph format, aren't you? Look at you.
I got some game. I got some game.
See, now this is a situation where I think McCutcheon can safely attack with the Ash Cloud.
Yeah.
because, again, he can unmorph it right away in case anything goes wrong. He's playing a little too tentative for me because now this allows Boettcher to untap with this, Death Dealer with a bunch of mana and however he wants to play it. Chandra starts to generate a bit of an advantage now, and the advantage that generates is better than I think the advantage that Boettcher can generate. I think he's just playing way too tentative.
Exactly, and now that Jared's just drawn a Sarkit, he can really turtle up here. I mean, he has the opportunity to really start hammering away at Jordan's board or generating a lot of card advantage.
Take a look at the top card here, Will Boettcher. Yeah, I think a world certainly exists now where, you just play Sarkin, you take care of the Courser so it can't generate any more of an advantage, and you still got like this nice wall of defense that you're building that your opponent really can't get through and has shown that they're way too hesitant to attack into.
Especially, even if it's kind of neutral on the board, whether or not Jordan should be attacking, and I think it actually is actively in favor of attacking. He's got 4 copies of Crater's Claws in his deck, so the damage he deals is significant because the Crater's Claws become lethal draws.
You can just peel off running fireballs or something.
Yeah.
It might only take 1, but Chandra going to go after the Ash Cloud Phoenix, and now here's Sarkin. Let's see how Boettcher wants to use this Planeswalker. He says in for 4. Elevator goes up to 5 on
Right.
Sarkin. I had a lot of fun playing with this card states. It's really, really good. This will unmorph. So, 2 damage to be dealt. McCutcheon's going to draw that Radiclaw Mystic that we know is on top of his deck. And now, the Forest is on top. That's going to come in. So McCutcheon will gain a life. So it had a damage on it, and then it goes to like a different zone. Top card now is again Wooded Foothills. We've seen that a couple times today.
So the Phoenix, I believe, is a replacement when it dies, it returns to play.
Yep.
So my initial instinct was, why is that Phoenix not turned face down immediately because it still has damage on it? It doesn't just flip down into a morph. It goes to your graveyard and then comes back face down. Funky.
But cool.
It is cool. Phoenixes, they come back from the dead, so I like the flavor. But again, I still feel like Jordan needs to be attacking more. And this is also the consequence of many turns ago where he didn't trade with that Air of the Wilds. And now it's doing work gumming up the ground against much better threats.
Yeah, Air is just playing the ultimate defense. And this is kind of why you wanted to trade it off earlier in the game, which kind of makes sense now because it's a brick wall. The Genesis Hydras are doing actual nothing.
Yep.
Where they would be attacking otherwise. And Air says, I will just eat the token. Looks like Boettcher is willing to take this 4 points of damage in the air. And Boettcher's able to make very informed decisions now because of Courser. As good as the card as Courser is, it also leaks information.
Yep.
When you're empty-handed, your opponent knows exactly every card that's coming. So he knows the next turn, well, Elvish Mystic is as bad as it gets. Well, excuse me, Mystic's in the graveyard. Wooded Foothills is the top card. So that's as bad as it gets. There's Morph, could be anything.
Could be anything.
Mm-hmm. Almost certainly a Radiclaw Mystic, but again, could be anything.
You can never be sure.
Boettcher will untap and draw a card here. Another copy of Chandra is what he's found. Backup copy, not great. Probably one of the worst draws in his deck in this situation.
It does potentially allow him to chain together an Alpha Strike a turn earlier because Chandra makes things unable to block.
Mm-hmm.
So he can Chandra, shoot something, deal point of damage to Jordan, play the second Chandra, do that again. But definitely among the worst draws in the deck at this point.
Boettcher does have 7 mana in play, however, so he can activate the Monstrosity on Stormbreath Dragon if he'd like. Really start to get to work on that life total. Again, Jared working with what is basically perfect information. Radiclaw Mystic is the morph. You see the Courser, the Rabble Master, the Ash Cloud Phoenix that is tapped. The Genesis Hydra is in play. One's a 5/5, one's a 3/3. Knows the top card of the deck, of course, is Wooded Foothills, and all those lands in play. So now he just has to figure out how he wants to go about trying to beat what's here and on top of the deck moving forward.
Yep. And you can also pump into Rakshasa instead of the Stormbreath Dragon since Jordan's empty-handed. But it's probably a little bit more efficient for Jared to take care of all that now. Get the Stormbreath up and then use your mana for other things down the line.
I would think so. Yeah, this feels like the turn that he would want to do that. He saw Chandra 0. Llanowar wastes the card off the top of the deck. It's just going to come into play as Boettcher had not played his land yet.
Which is nice for a couple of reasons. One, it allows him to monstrous the Stormbreath Dragon without taking a point of damage off of Mana Confluence. And it is another black source of mana, so Rakshasa is a little bit more threatening. Since the bottleneck was on black mana.
There's an attack with the Sarkhan.
Yeah, so it looks like in the draw here, before Jordan has an opportunity to play this lane, he's going to monstrous the Stormbreath Dragon and get in a point of damage.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
Get that freebie.
You know that he's drawing a land that he can just put into play, so there's no way that you're going to Stormbreath is going to be doing any more than that.
Now there's a Stormbreath Dragon. This is a little bit late to the party here from McCutcheon, though.
That's a safe draw. At this point, the thing that Jared's worried about is Crater's Claws. That's the only
That's
thing.
the best one, right?
Yeah, that's the only thing that's going to kill him from the spot.
The thing here for Jared is that he doesn't know how many copies he's playing against. He doesn't know that Jordan has 4 copies in his deck.
Yeah.
He saw 2 off of Genesis Hydra, kind of doing its thing. But and I think it's a weird spot right here for Jared, right? Where it's kind of safe to assume, well, okay, I know you have 2 copies. Do you actually play 4 of a Fireball? Well, the answer is we know is yes. We'll see if that comes up maybe in this game or future games.
So now Jordan has to sit back on defense too.
There's a mountain. Jared very quickly reaching for some Lancer. This might be the Chandra play that you mentioned. I think he's actually able to just go for this, potentially.
Well, he zeroed the first Chandra.
Yep, so he's going to play this other one. I mean, there's a world where he just zeroes again. Okay,
Yeah.
that's what he's going to do. And Mana Confluence is what he's found. So
Whatever he does,
nothing helpful.
whatever he's doing the first time, he's doing the second time as well.
Sure. We could also see a Sarkhan Ultimate. Hey, hey, hey.
Well, Jared's in this weird spot where he needs to apply pressure without leaving himself at risk of dying on the way back. But he needs to win the game as quickly as possible because Jordan has the inevitability here with the Crater's Claws in his deck. This is a very tough spot. And adding to the awkwardness is that the only good attacks Jared are with flyers, and Jordan always has the option of chump block with my Phoenix, unmorph it.
Yeah, deal 2 to you or a Planeswalker.
Right.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's going to. It looks like he's going to block here. Yep. So that's going to be a block. A pretty safe one. And then I imagine we'll just see him unmorph again, and we know he's going to draw Stormbreath Dragon. So Jared's trying to work his way through this, and is clearly having some difficulty. So it's going to unmorph again.
If this was all that was going to happen here, I do not like that attack from Jared.
I don't like the attack there either. I like either ultimating the Sarkhan and maybe trying to play that game, or just saying, all right, plus it, go.
Yeah.
And not taking basically
Exactly.
2 points of damage for no reason.
Because keep in mind, Jordan still has a 5/5, a 3/3, a morph down, and a Courser. It's not just about this Phoenix. You just don't want to put yourself in a position where you're getting killed out of nowhere.
Foothill's going to come into play. Looks like McCutcheon did remember the trigger from Courser. Every life point matters right now. There's Stormbreath. Now the question, of course, is does McCutcheon have enough mana to unmorph the Phoenix this turn?
He does because of the Rattleclaw Mystic down.
Correct.
Yeah, he's good on that.
Of course, Rattleclaw Mystic, its unmorph cost is 2 colorless mana. That generates some mana when it does unmorph, and of course it does tap some mana as well. So he will still have enough mana as long as he, manages his cards appropriately. You see, McCutcheon's going to activate the Wooded Foothills here, turn down the Rattleclaw Mystic, and search up a land.
And I'm not a big fan of using the Wooded Foothills at this moment because Whatever the top card of your deck is very unlikely to inform your own decision-making this turn, but it is very likely to inform Jared's decision-making on his own turn.
Absolutely.
You could have just used that Wooded Foothills on your own turn before you drew if you were committed to shuffling away that Rattleclaw Mystic, which is fine. I wouldn't want to draw a Rattleclaw Mystic here either, but...
Let's see what the top card is. Just a mountain. So Boettcher's able to fade the mighty Fireball again.
And that's what I'm saying. That's a lot of information for Jared to be working with this turn.
There goes the old Eric Smith token into the abyss yet again. See, this is the time where you can use the Eric Smith token instead of the Cedric Phillips Goblin token.
Yep.
Just throw Eric into the fire just
Yep.
over and over and over again.
Yep, he's dead again.
Yep.
Dead again.
I think that's probably it for McCutcheon's turn. All right, back to Boettcher we go. Long game one.
Yep.
Let's see what he draws. Fnatic of Xenagos? Well, that might as well be textless. That one's not going to do a lot right now. Though, there will be an activation here of Morph with Rattleclaw Mystic, and I think activate Storm Breath Dragon, the monstrosity, because he wants to get the 2 damage across.
Yep. Good sequencing. Good sequencing.
Yep, right in the draw step. So Boettcher's going to take 2. And it looks like, we'll see where McCutcheon wants to go, but he's been going upstairs with like a lot of the stuff and not redirecting it over to Planeswalkers. So Boettcher's down to 6. Boettcher's going to hit the 0 button, it looks like.
I mean, he can just kill the Rattleclaw Mystic, but that seems like so low impact at this stage.
He's going to start with Fnatic of Xenagos.
I believe you, sir, get a 3/3.
You see Boettcher's last card is just a copy of Llanowar Waste. Boettcher trying to figure out how can I get these points of damage through? Is there anything I can do to stop myself from kind of dying? Because there's also a world that exists now, I think, where it's the old, all right, turn Ashcall Phoenix sideways game.
Yeah, it's tough because Jared definitely can't attack on the ground. Jordan has all sorts of blockers. He can't really attack in the air because of this Phoenix.
And this is the 1-2 punch to actually kill the Phoenix, which is
Yeah.
ding it with Chandra and then remove counters with Sarkhan when it's a morph to finally kill it.
Yep.
That's exactly what that turn ends up being. He's got to use a lot of resources to get it off the table. Let's see what McCutcheon draws. Oh no. Another Phoenix. Of course, that'll be coming next turn. He's going to play the mountain off of the courser, going to gain a life, go up to 13 as long as he does remember the trigger, of course. But now we're also working ourselves into a world here where Boettcher can say, okay, Chandra, make it so that your Stormbreath Dragon can't block.
Yeah, that's why I think that Jordan rather needed to attack with the Stormbreath Dragon this turn.
Sure. It's a lethal attacker. Makes sense.
You at least trade with the Stormbreath Dragon.
Because what Chandra, of course, is going to do, the elevator goes up on that, makes it so the Stormbreath Dragon can't block. Of course, deal 1 damage over to McCutcheon. Now the Stormbreath Dragon that Boettcher has deals a ton of damage.
Oh.
And it looks like maybe Boettcher's conceding the game. Not entirely sure.
I think maybe he thought he could kill that Stormbreath on the way.
Yes. The Stormbreath Dragon is lethal from the crackback.
Yes.
On the other side of the table, yeah.
Yeah, he needed to leave his Stormbreath back on defense.
Yes, he did. That is a touch awkward.
Well,
it looks like Sarkhan needed to attack and not Stormbreath
correct.
Dragon. And that is
Right.
why Jared very hastily picks up his cards. And it looks like we're headed to game number 2 here. Jordan McCutcheon, after a misstep there from Boettcher, is going to win game number 1. So Green Red Monsters up a game here over Jund Aggro. You see Jared's going to sideboard very quickly because he's got 2 games to win. So we're going to go over very quickly as well. 2 Bow of Nylea, Whip of Erebos, a Hammer of Perforos, 3 Magma Spray, 2 Destructive Revelry of Thoughtseize, 2 copies of Ashcloud Phoenix of his own, a Harness by Force, and 2 copies of Murderous Cut. Kind of a lot of different interesting options here. The card that really stands out to me at this point is Harness by Force if the game goes like it just did.
yeah, I think 1 copy of Harness by Force is excellent here. I think 3 copies of Magma Spray. You saw Rattleclaw Mystic, Elvish Mystic, and that Phoenix that created
card.
all sorts of problems. So I think the Magma Spray is good here. Besides that, I think, 1 copy of Whip may be okay. And, I can get behind bringing in his own Phoenixes. On the other side, Jordan with 2 copies of Magma Spray, a Jeering Instigator, 3 Lightning Strikes, a Hornet's Nest, a Reclamation Sage, a Harness by Force, 2 Nylea's Disciple, 2 copies of Arbor Colossus, a Hornet Queen, and a Xenagos the Reveler. I like Xenagos in the matchup. I like bringing the other Hornet Queen. I think the 2 copies of Arbor Colossus are excellent. I can get behind the Harness by Force and the Jeering Instigator. So a lot of good stuff here.
I like the inevitability that Jordan's deck has, which is if I kind of gum up the game and play a long game, I think it actually favors him because of these Fireballs and these Hornet Queens. And now he has access to Arbor Colossus as well, which is oftentimes going to be the biggest creature on the ground.
Yeah.
While also stopping Thornbreath Dragons.
Sarkhan and Stormbreath Dragon were the best cards that Jared had in that game. Arbor Colossus is very good against both of them.
Seems like a favorable matchup here for McCutcheon. We'll see, of course, how it does break out, but
yeah,
it does feel a touch favorable.
I like being a little bit bigger in the green mirrors, by and large.
Well, these players are going to shuffle up, and while they do, we will talk about our 2015 Invitational schedule. Nothing too crazy going on with this, but if you guys haven't seen it, we're just changing one location.
Yeah, it's 3 of the 4 same venues. You can see the one in March. That's the one that's swapped here. Used to be in Charlotte, or was in Charlotte last year. We're moving it to Richmond, where we're also having an open November 22nd and 23rd, I believe, this year.
Yep.
And other than that, you see Columbus, New Jersey, and Seattle. Same locations that we're doing in 2014.
Well, they worked well this year, so might as well just run it back.
Yes, they did. Well, Seattle still remains to be seen.
It'll work.
It'll probably be fine.
It'll work. It's Seattle. It's great. It's perfect. It's everything that's right in the world, except not having a basketball team. That's why we're going back.
Yep.
2015 Invitational schedule is game number 2. Will be underway here in just a moment.
I think on that last turn, Jared needs to go 0 the Chandra on your Stormbreath, attack with only Sarkhan. Leave Stormbreath back on defense. Yeah.
Especially because it's the top card.
Yep.
Which is the Phoenix. So, bit of a misstep there. These things do happen.
Though I think with Jordan drawing a Phoenix, Jared's in a ton of trouble anyway.
I still think, I agree with you. I still think it's a difficult spot for Boettcher.
I mean, he gets to run back the Chandra plus Sarkhan play, I guess.
To get the Phoenix off the table.
Yeah. But he's still not really in a position to attack, and Jordan has 4 copies of Crater's Claws in his deck.
Just dying to draw one
the
entire time. And if Jordan ever gets a little more aggressive with his Stormbreath Dragon, things certainly change as well.
Yeah.
Either way, game 1 does go to McCutcheon, and game number 2 here between Boettcher and McCutcheon will be underway. Again, Boettcher will have the option to play first. He takes it, of course. Temple of Bannon, Scry, leave it on top. We'll see what McCutcheon has on his first turn. Last game he started off with the Forest and Elvish Mystic, and he'll do that again. Boettcher will draw a card. It's a copy of Magma Spray. Air of the Wilds is where Boettcher will start. Could have sprayed that turn.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's just committed to saving these for Phoenixes. If Jordan has a land into a Courser that turn, it's pretty bad news, but Jared was able to avoid it.
Looks like he has a 2-drop here instead. It's going to be a Rattleclaw Mystic. Has not drawn Caryatid yet. Boettcher going to draw a Forest here for the turn. He will deploy the Forest. We'll take 1 to cast the Death Dealer. And now here's Magma Spray. It's going to line up and take care of the Rattleclaw Mystic, and Air of the Wilds will come to the red zone. So McCutcheon's going to go down to 18. But we're getting to that point now where McCutcheon can start casting some of his larger threats. You see he's got 3 mana in play. Courser was the draw. We'll see if he has another red mana. I think that's a big thing here, but it looks like he's going to lead with the Courser.
Yeah, I don't think he has a land, so high upside here if he finds a land off the top.
Just a Crater's Claws. He just has to pass the turn back over to Boettcher. Boettcher quickly untaps, draws a copy of Magma Spray. That's not a bad one. Goodbye, Elvish Mystic.
Now here comes the combo of the Death Dealer plus the Air.
Ever heard of it?
So that's a 7 spot.
Yep. Of course, Death Dealer is going to pump into a 4/4, which means that Air of the Wilds, when it attacks, is going to get +1/+1 because of a Ferocious, and it has Death Touch. So Courser, best of luck blocking.
No blocks.
Yep.
That's just good deck building.
Absolutely. I don't know what Jared played at the Pro Tour last weekend. Did not have a great Pro Tour. Does make me wonder if maybe he played this deck and then maybe this weekend, or over the course of this weekend playing a different build. This isn't anything we've seen before.
Yeah, and that was a big miss there from Jordan. If he finds a land here, he can play Crater's Claw for 2 on the Death Dealer. The Air is smaller. He can trade with the Courser if he wants to. Instead, all sorts of trouble.
And Stormbreath Dragon, the card that's on the top of the deck, not the land that McCutcheon was looking for. Boettcher quickly draws his card. It was a copy of Fanatic of Xenagos, and looked like he's going to do what he did last turn, which is pump the Death Dealer and come into the red zone. Of course, Air's trigger will make it a 3/3 again.
So this is 7 points of damage. So if Jordan runs a no blocks, this knocks him down to 4, which means that the Stormbreath or Sarkhan in his hand is lethal. The challenge here is that Jordan, if he finds a land, gains life off the Courser. Now, then the math might get messed up a little bit.
He didn't find one. Sylvan Caryatid is the top card of the deck. Though Crater's Claws for 2 is available now. And that is, he's going to play a Courser instead. I thought he might Claws for 2 and take care of the Death Dealer. Draws a copy of Temple of Abandon.
Maybe he's committing to a double block on the Death Dealer this turn.
Okay. attack with both creatures.
Seems like the only reasonable block at this point. Jordan does not die.
Yeah, and we're not double blocking the air.
Yeah. Well, he dies. He dies if he double blocks the air.
That's true. That's
if
true.
he double chumps, that gets him nowhere.
Yeah.
So this is kind of, the die has been cast. This is the block.
He's down to 1. Carry-added is the draw. Not a land again there for McCutcheon. Will he fireball now? Looks like the answer is yes. There goes the Air of the Wilds.
Got him.
In for 2. Boettcher going to quickly untap. Is it land number 5? It is. That means it's a Sarkin in the air, and we're going to play a third game here between Jared Boettcher and Jordan McCutcheon with plenty of time to spare. Jund Aggro and Green Red Monsters going to game 3.
That is the issue with being a ramp deck, is that you need a bunch of mana there. Jared was able to fend off some of the mana creatures, and Jordan could never get anything going as a result.
2015. It's going to be here sooner than we think, honestly.
Yes.
Only 3 months away. 2.5?
2.5.
2.5 months away. But that means we have more Magic to watch.
What's today? October the 18th. So yeah, we're past the halfway point in October.
It's actually kind of scary to think about. We do have our 2015 schedule here of the Open Series for you guys. If you guys have not seen this, we did announce this during our Season 3 Invitational in wonderful New Jersey. Got a lot of shows to watch. Should be a lot of fun, a lot of traveling to do.
Yeah, we have Q1 announced.
Yes,
plus
Q1.
Plus the
Q1,
Invitational.
So we'll take a look at that schedule right now. We will start things off in Columbus, little Ohio action. Maybe one of these days it'll say Cleveland, not Columbus, but that's neither here nor there. Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., and then Indy. So a nice set of cities to start with.
It's going to be cold. That'll be a defining feature of our January on the Open Series.
Gloves will be necessary.
Correct.
Yes. Hopefully no polar vortexes this go around, but we'll see. Houston, one of your favorite cities, we'll be going to for the first time. We're going to Los Angeles after that. I don't know why you're laughing. Los Angeles after that.
I don't know either.
Baltimore. Then we'll do a Grand Prix in Miami. We've done one of those before.
See, it starts to get a little bit warmer here in February, which is really nice. Houston, Los Angeles. Baltimore probably still pretty cold into February. But
A little chilly.
Miami, very nice.
Absolutely. And then Dallas, and then we'll round it out with our first invitational in Richmond.
So if we get through January, we'll be fine. That's going to be the big test.
You got something against Houston, man?
Yeah, but we don't have to go into it now.
It's a wonderful city.
I guess my short answer is...
What a burger.
I guess my short answer is, of course I do, but we can get into that later.
It'll be the first time the Open Series heads there. It should be fun.
Yeah, no, that is cool. There's not a lot of major cities that we have not hit yet. Houston's has to be the largest, so very cool to be doing that.
I think Houston probably is the largest.
I mean, Houston's huge.
Like besides, yeah, I think it might be Houston. I think it actually might be Houston. Houston is very big.
Yeah.
I mean, Texas is very big. There's a lot of places in Texas we could go. I don't think the Open Series has been to Austin before.
Nope.
Or San Antonio, even though
Nope.
San Antonio isn't that big. But man, I don't know if you've been to San Antonio before. It is sweet.
Never been.
It is so awesome.
We traditionally just do Dallas,
Yeah.
right?
Mostly Dallas. We've been doing Dallas for a handful of years. Hopefully one day we'll make a stop in San Antonio. They've got this sweet river walk.
I've heard about it.
Yeah, it's a really cool city. There was a Grand Prix there a couple of years ago. Game number 3 underway with a Temple of Abandon. Take a look at the top card here with McCutcheon as he does consult the grip. Looks like he will leave it on top. Boettcher will start off with some sort of Temple here, I imagine. He's got a Malice and an Abandon. He'll start with the black-red Temple. Leave the card on top and pass it back over to McCutcheon. The big question here for McCutcheon is, does he have a mana accelerant on turn 2? It can be a Mystic, it can be a Carry Added, it can be whatever he wants. This works. Radical Mystic is fine.
Yeah, 10 accelerants in his deck. It's really important for him to get something going here. And now this is a big test for Jared. Does he have a Magma Spray or not?
There's a Temple of Abandon. You see the Hardest Way Force in his hand. But does he have Magma Spray? The answer is yes. The question is, should I cast it? And the answer to that is yes as well. So,
Kill that thing.
Yeah, slow him down.
Also, potentially keep him off of double red.
Yep. McCutcheon draws his card for the turn. There's a Forest. Does he have a Courser? Maybe another Mana Accelerant. He's just going to pass the turn back over to Boettcher. Boettcher will draw a card. It's a Forest. This, Fanatic of Xenagos. We'll see how big it's going to be.
I think Jordan has Crater's Claws in hand, so I think he has to just say, I'll take the 4, untap, play a land, and kill it, hopefully. But if he turns it into a 4/4, he's way behind trying to kill it with a Crater's Claws.
So McCutcheon taking a while to figure out exactly what he wants to do in this spot. So then it's going to come in for 4.
And I think
now.
Jordan has to do this.
Yeah. There are also cards that he has in his deck that went into 3/3, brick wall, like Courser.
Yeah.
So you don't want to take the 4, but you have to. The problem here for McCutcheon is that he doesn't play a 4th land, so now Boettcher's going to play another Fanatic of Xenagos. Second verse, same as the first. I think if you're McCutcheon, you just have to let the same thing happen.
Yeah.
He's actually going to put a die on it. Okay, so it's going to be a 4/4 moving forward. 3 damage is going to come across. McCutcheon will draw a card as he's at 13. Did he draw a land? The answer is sort of.
Not really.
Kind of a land.
I was a little surprised that Jared did not play the Pelucanos last turn in lieu of casting the Fanatic.
See what he's going to do on this turn. Third Fanatic, jeez.
All right, it's just trying to beat him to death as fast as possible. I guess that's fine.
Oh, that one's going to be a 4/4 too. So here's an attack for 7. McCutcheon is going to go down to 6. And you can see in Boettcher's handout, he actually has a copy of Harness by Force. So if McCutcheon plays anything of relevance, it will be Boettcher's for the turn, and it will likely end the game. There's a Wooded Foothills. That's shown up very late to the party. It also is going to deal McCutcheon 1.
Yep. And, given what's happened thus far, I don't think Jordan is able to play 2 spells in 1 turn.
See a couple copies of Crater's Claws over there in McCutcheon's hand. The thing here for McCutcheon is he was never able to get to his great end game. Cards like Hornet Queen, which he has 2 in the main, 1 in the board. Arbor Colossus never able to show up at the right time. Just, things just didn't break appropriately, it feels like, in these sideboarded games.
The Magma Sprays did a huge job for Jared here in games 2 and 3. With Jordan not having his mana acceleration, his deck is nowhere near as efficient as Jared's. Game 1, it went pretty much uncontested. Games 2 and 3, Jared had some cheap answers.
Fiddle's going to get McCutcheon a mountain. It goes down to 5 in the process. Bunch of mana. It's going to be an Ash Cloud Phoenix. Jared probably can't wait to cast that Harness by Force fast enough. Magma Spray is the draw. It has looked great in this matchup, of course. Here is 3 mana, Harness by Force. Says, I kind of want to take that Phoenix and beat you to death with it. Jared Boettcher is going to win this match over Jordan McCutcheon, 2-1. And for his innovative Jund aggro deck, he moves on to 2-0.
Cool stuff going on here. And I think the threat base is pretty well suited to fighting Jeskai, which is nice for this
I
tournament.
think so, yeah. And I think that's a spot you have to be in for this tournament. You have to be respecting these Jeskai decks and these Abzan decks. And it looks like that Jared's deck does a relatively good job of that.